task.
We're not talking about that.
No.
I mean, I can do an add-on resolution if you want.
We're not talking about that.
Salt
All I
is,
know
the
is
salt
too
budget
much-
is not doing
too
well.
much bad weather. I do not like it.
That's right, the salt.
I know I should know this. Omega?
Salt sheds.
Omega,
corroding
yeah.
away.
And what does it mean?
Did you take
Good to
physics?
concrete.
I took physics, of course.
Oh, she's just trying to get
I
the
do not
lesson
recall.
now from David about the omega, the physics lesson.
Oh, okay.
Now she's gonna get the physics lesson.
Electricity.
I mean, I feel like if you
Law,
do explain your
I-
button, it might be too much work.
Thank you.
Omega.
button.
Yes.
I kind of wiped out my,
I was telling Stephanie, I took 2 years
Hi,
of
Fred.
physics in high school and 1 in college.
All right, thank you.
I don't know why.
I took science for non-science majors, and it was astronomy, and I have to tell you, it's one of the best classes I ever took.
I took physics as an elective.
Right, you're,
Very strange.
you are,
Can't get out of here.
good for you.
I know. Green is from
All right, can you please rise, and I'm going to ask
Leave my
Trustee
mom
Fisher
t-shirts.
to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, wow. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perhaps Trustee Fisher would like to sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Trust me, you do not want that.
You know, my daughter used to
good.
sing in
Thank
high
you and
school.
good evening. Tonight is Tuesday, March 11th. It's a little after 7:30. We just came from executive session. We were discussing terms and vacancies on various boards, commissions, and committees. And we'll be voting on a lot of that in the coming meetings as we get to that part of our cycle in the year. But I would like to just thank everyone who is serving currently on those boards, commissions, and committees, and will be continuing to do so. All right, moving into our agenda items. The first resolution on the agenda is resolution number 1, considering a request of an extension exemption of Chapter 158, Section 2.1 of the Village Code regarding a seasonal leaf blower ban for Atria Rybrook.
Whereas on April 11th, 2023, the board approved a local law enacting a seasonal gas-powered leaf blower ban from May 1st through September 30th, effective May 1st, 2024. And whereas under the Village Code, properties of 5 acres or more can apply to the village for a full or partial extension or exemption of the local law. And whereas the application has been distributed to all eligible properties and also placed on the Rybrook website. And whereas on February 13th, 2024, the Board of Trustees approved a request for exemption of the code enacting a seasonal leaf blower ban for Atria Rybrook. And whereas a 1-year exemption was granted by the board and that expired on October 1st, 2024. And whereas on February 28th, 2025, representatives of Atria Rybrook submitted an application for a further exemption of the requirements of the local law requiring the seasonal gas-powered leaf blowers. Now, therefore, be it resolved after consideration of the intent of the local law, as well as considerations raised in the application from representatives of Atria Rybrook, the Village Board of Trustees hereby either approves, denies, or approves with conditions the request for the exemption of the Village Code enacting a seasonal leaf blower ban for Atria Rybrook.
Thank you, Chris. We're going to hold off on motion second until we have the discussion. One thing I would just say is that, in the backup materials, I do appreciate that it's showing the previous year's resolution, because that way we can look to see whether there were any, because sometimes we put conditions in those.
Yes.
We can see whether those are there, and I find that to be very useful. So I just want to say thank you for having that there. Do we have any representatives for Atria? If you wouldn't mind.
Good evening. I'm Brian Sittler with Griffin's Landscaping. I was here last year to go through everything with you. What I had stated last year is based on costs and everything that's related to the electric industry when it comes to landscape equipment. There's progress being made every year, but it's just not where you would expect it to be. However, I will tell you that we are progressing forward with the actual items itself, and for the most part, with typical, weekly maintenance that we do, it's not a problem for us to use the electric just to blow off grass off of areas that has to be like when we're doing lawn cuts and stuff like that. The only time we run into problems if we're doing any kind of bigger projects with pruning and stuff like that, where we have to gather up a lot of the clippings and stuff like that from, the trees and things like that. But as well, as I told you last year, that we would continue to invest in, we're looking at, starting up this year, an all-electric mow crew. So we are progressing down the path of trying to, utilize the battery pack blowers and mowers and things like that. As I promised you last year that we would continue to look at. Again, the blowers aren't where I would hope they would be, but they're definitely getting better. So with that, we're going to continue on.
Sorry.
But at the same time, I just want to let you know that we're actually even started up a team that we're going to be able to go to places, people that want to, have us price out for doing their properties it is a little, more costly, but we are offering that out to people. This year, we actually have a couple of customers that are already on board to do that, so.
Great. So you do have electric blowers that you're using?
Yeah, so what we do is we use if we do typical grass, mowing on a daily basis, a lot of times that just can be done with using the electric blowers.
So like the
'Cause it's not
hardscapes,
we have
the sidewalks,
the handheld ones, and we got a couple backpack ones that we actually have been using even last year in places, because it's not just the village of Rybrook. There's other townships that we take care of that have the same thing. They want us to be able to use battery pack blowers as much as possible. So that's what we are doing. But there are times that we do need to have the ability to be able to use the gas powered, but it's getting better, and that's what I just want to offer up to you.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board? I mean, would you be comfortable with us putting a condition in the exemption for this year saying that only electric will be used on the hardscapes when doing routine mowing?
If you absolutely have to, when we're just doing mowing, I guess so. Again, we're not getting paid for having the electric, blowers, so we're eating costs on that. So if that's what you so desire, fine, but I don't want to have it so that it's absolute, but we are trying to adhere to it as much as possible.
Which machines did you buy and what do you think works?
We actually bought some commercial backpacks for the team that we're starting up. We also have commercial mowers that we just purchased. A lot of school districts and municipalities have gone to try out the electric mowers and stuff like that, but I don't know of any other landscape company, myself at least, that has purchased any kind of electric mowers. So we tested out Steel, we've tested out Husqvarna's, we've tested out what's the other one? I can't remember the other
So,
one.
but what have you purchased?
Well, Steels.
Steels.
We got a couple backpacks. Well, we had a couple backpacks in the past, and that's what I told you that that crew does carry around with them. But we purchased a new 61, a new 52, and a new 48-inch commercial mower. So
Electric.
battery operated. Yep.
And Steel again, the brand, or? Okay. So,
Oh, the X-Mark was the other brand that we test drove. They were really expensive though. Yeah, it's something else. But we're definitely continuing on down the path. We actually set up a charging station at our shop, so when we come back at night, the trailer gets hooked in with the mowers, and we have to charge them. We're not sure exactly what the run time is going to be on the mowers at this point. We're being told we get the full day, but that's going to be something for us to try out. So.
Yeah, you'll see as it goes. All right, so Chris, can you, if everyone's okay with it, and that the little condition that I suggested, Chris, could you read a resolution that
Sure. Sure, and just before I do, so I think what the board is not talking when they say the hardscapes, not necessarily the parking lot in the front, but the pathways, the sidewalks,
Yeah,
all that
that's
area is
fine.
closest to the building.
It's just that they gotta go back and forth, and that's fine. I'll make the attempt at it, and that's what we'll do. It's, again, we're trying to move forward with it as well. Again, we made a heavy investment in, the electric team that we're gonna be starting up this year. Hopefully, we're able to get people to, go with us, because it is very expensive, so. But we did make the effort to go down that path.
So be it further, now therefore be it resolved that after consideration of the intent of the local law as well as considerations raised in the application from representatives of Atria Rybrook, the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby approves the request for an exemption of the village code, and be it further resolved that the approval of the exemption includes the following condition, which is that electric blowers shall be used on the sidewalks and pathway areas closest to the building, adjacent to the building.
Okay?
All right?
And this exemption would go through October 1st, 2025, which would get through the ban period, and then you'd have from that period to come back
I'll see you
again.
again next year.
Yeah.
That way, at least you get an update also where we are.
Great.
So,
Any questions or comments?
No, thank you for
Okay with them?
supplying that information, and good luck
you.
with it.
thank you, I appreciate it.
All right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Take care now.
You too.
All right, moving on to resolution number 2, very similar, considering requests of an extension exemption of chapter 158, section 2.1 of the village code regarding a seasonal leaf blower ban for 699 Westchester Ave, the former Westchester Hilton property.
Whereas, again, I'm going to skip through it. So the
Yeah.
village approved the code, approved a local law with the leaf blower ban. 5 acres or more can apply for an exemption or extension. The information's been out there for people to apply. An exemption was created on the former Hilton property at 699 Westchester Avenue on July 9th, 2024. And that was a 1-year exemption that expired on October 1st, 2024. And whereas on March 3rd, 2025, representatives of 699 Westchester Avenue submitted an application for further exemption of the requirements of the local law requiring a seasonal leaf blower ban on gas-blowered leaf blowers. And be it further, now therefore be it resolved after consideration of the local law and the application, the Board of Trustees hereby either approves with conditions, or denies the application from 699 Westchester Avenue.
Thank you, Chris. And again, we'll hold off on motion and second until we know what we're voting on. And I believe we have representation from this property as well, if you wouldn't mind.
And I'll just, as the applicant is coming up, last year the resolution put the following condition on the property, which was that battery-operated leaf blowers shall be used in areas adjacent to the front of the hotel building.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Right. I do the same thing. We buy more battery for this year, and the power user is Greenwood. We got 2 big batteries, and we have more for using this year. Like you said, close to the building, and outside, they have 7.3, and it's a really big, huge property. And this, and he said, he buy a big machine for, the property's closed, to keep it clean, like it is, the town said, like it's open all the time. So, and he thinking, I don't know when, he thinking opening, I don't know.
Well, we certainly hope it opens.
I hope. I hope.
Just out of curiosity, how much of the property is currently being used?
Right now, the property is gosh, I forgot.
Is that your phone?
The property is closed by 2020, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the tennis courts are still in the
Yeah,
tennis
the
bubble.
tennis court is
correct?
open, and Monsignor, he said he want to keep everything like his work.
Keep
So-
it done as if it's open.
Yes.
Right.
Only
And
the
I'm
pool-
assuming, you know, with the last resolution, it said that the electric was being used near the building.
Yes,
So is
sir.
that similar, the walkways, the pathways,
Yes.
that kind of thing? What areas get mowed? I'm not even sure what grassy areas there are there.
There's
The
a
entrance.
7.3.
7.3 acres?
Yes.
Yeah, there's also in the back.
In the
There's
back,
also,
right.
yeah.
In the back,
Along the,
have a big
Oh,
pool in
right.
the back and,
there's a ton of,
and
Okay.
around the tennis court. And in front
Right.
of the land is.
The driveway on the way in,
Yeah.
probably,
Yes.
that area.
Right. All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I mean, I would think that we would keep the same
yeah.
condition.
Okay, so the sidewalks, pathways, areas adjacent to the hotel building.
Yeah, I'm more concerned with the residents on the other side
Right, I know.
for the noise control.
Yeah, but I think that's probably just what's on the other. Yeah, the area that's close to the residences behind the tennis courts. Are there pathways back there? Or is that just mowing?
This is a mowing.
Just mowing until fall, and then when the leaves are there, it's
Yes.
probably blown. But that's outside the van
Right.
area because that's when that's into October. So yeah, no, I know that is the main concern because that's what backs up to the residents. And everything else is kind of away from.
Right.
I think a lot of us are sitting here. We hope that Mr. Manchurian does something with the property and it becomes either open again or finds another use.
Yes.
It's, we'd love to see something, but that's not.
Yes, we would.
That's not here. That's not relevant to this. But all right, so I think Chris, we're good with the same conditions.
Okay. And again, that's through October 1st, 2025, and the conditions are that electric leaf blowers shall be used on the sidewalks, pathways, and areas closest to the hotel building.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 3. Considering authorizing circulation of notice of intent by the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees to continue in its role as seeker lead agency for the proposed amendments to the approved senior living facility at the property located at 900 King Street.
Whereas 900 King Street is the owner of certain property located at this location at 900 King Street and shown on our tax maps, and is located in a planned unit development district and scenic roads overlay district. And whereas the subject property is currently improved with a 215,000 square foot office building at an at-grade parking lot consisting of 595 parking spaces. And whereas on September 14th, 2021, the the Village Board approved a PUD site plan for the development of an age-restricted 62 years of age and older senior living facility with a total of 231 residential rental units consisting of 126 independent living units and 85 assisted living units and 20 townhomes, and with a total square footage of 345,902, and other related infrastructure, driveways, walkways, garage, and surface parking, site lighting, signage, and stormwater. And whereas prior to approving the site plan, the village board adopted a finding statement as lead agency pursuant to seeker, and adopted a local law amending the village code, and approved a PUD concept plan for the project. And whereas on September 30th, 2021, the planning board approved a wetlands permit and steep slopes permit for the project. And whereas the PUD site plan approval and the wetlands and steep slopes permit approvals have been extended from time to time, such that the PUD site plan is currently scheduled to expire on September 15th, 2025, and the wetlands and steep slopes permits are scheduled to expire on September 8th, 2025. And whereas on February 20th, 2025, an application was submitted by Sunrise Development as contract vendee for the property, seeking amendments to the approved site plan, which include a reduction to the building footprint, updated porte cochere entry for the independent and assisted living buildings, updated courtyard layout, additional balconies and walkout terraces, additional outdoor amenity, modification of the rear loading zone, addition of a structure over the proposed generator and outdoor trash area, addition of a second garage space in each of the 20 townhomes, and modification of the building footprint of 10 townhomes to allow for the addition of a second main level bedroom. And whereas the planning board is the approval authority for that amended PUD site plan pursuant to village code, and whereas the board desires to continue its role as lead agency for the amended project, which is classified as an unlisted action pursuant to seeker, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby declares its intent to continue to act as lead agency for the amended project and directs its circulation of notice of intent to declare lead agency to all known involved agencies with a copy of this resolution, the short environmental assessment form, Part 1, and all existing amended project materials.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Chris, a little background?
Sure. So as the board is aware, we've had a site plan in place for several years now, and for 900 King Street, and that's been they've had extensions of that site plan approval before the board. There's a contract with Sunrise Development, which is a good news. It's a very well-known big firm, and they are looking to build and operate the senior living facility at this location. And now with a new vendor coming in here, a new operator, they have some changes that they wanted to see in the approvals of those site plans, all making it either smaller or a little bit different in terms of the size of the building is actually decreasing. There are some changes, though, that need review. Some of the entranceways and things like that, just to fit the needs of what they're looking for. And those changes are all before the planning board as the approval authority. What's before the village board is the seeker process. So if there's any environmental impacts of the changes that are proposed, the village board is still the lead agency for seeker purposes for this particular application. So any changes for the modification of the site plan are the planning board. Any changes or any environmental impacts would be the village board. And they still do need to go before the architecture review board for all the approvals that are necessary for the project. So the good news is, the board has been, wants them to keep, this project moving and show it before, we made that very clear when the last extension was provided. And the good news is there is an active applicant and they've submitted the site plan modifications that they wanted reviewed by the village. The village staff also met with the applicant to go over from an emergency services task force. That was another requirement, so we wanted to make sure that the modifications didn't do anything to impact emergency service capabilities to respond to this location.
Thank you, Chris. I know we, again, this resolution is really just our declaration of continuing to act
Circulating the notice
as
of-
lead
yep.
agency. Certainly we want to retain that with village board. Like Chris said, personally, I'm very pleased to see action continuing here. It certainly had sat stagnant for a while. We've extended the site plan. We've enacted site plan extensions a few times, and a lot of that was based on the belief that they were going to start submitting materials, and we are seeing materials being submitted. It's nice to see that there are, in my opinion, minimal changes occurring to this, even shrinking the building a little bit, making it look nicer. Again, this was something that was identified in our master plan. It's nice to see something being done with a property that's sat vacant for a very long time to the detriment of the Rybrook taxpayers. So seeing something moving along and hopefully getting occupation back in that area will bring benefits to the community.
Chris or Jason, the changes there are minimal changes, right? There was something in the back roof.
Yeah, there's some of the changes.
Some parking in the front, a little bit reconfigured.
A little bit
parking
reconfiguring
spaces.
the parking, kind of reverting to what the board approved as part of its site plan.
Right, very little stuff.
There was balconies that were added to the units.
Okay.
There were some other small modifications. Some of the loading dock parking area
Right.
got modified.
Right.
How they would function there with the in the rear, but that's back where it's facing the hutch.
Hutch, right.
Um,
And then the other thing was facing the village hall, I think, if I'm not mistaken, most changes. And
Yeah, it was
And the
very
height
minimal.
didn't change at all, the
no,
height's the same?
No height
Yep,
changes.
good.
No, the units aren't getting greater in any way.
Minimal changes, good.
yeah.
That's what we want to.
The actually, they were very receptive when we met with them and with our emergency service task force, where they agreed, because it really wasn't under the purview of the amendments, but they agreed to do things that would make it even easier to access certain locations. So they were very open to that and looking at that as well, even though that really wasn't part of the modification. They were just open to it as a concept because they want to make sure it's safe as well.
I do have a question with regard to the townhomes, because they are moving a second main floor bedroom downstairs and modifying upstairs. So is that just interior space that they're changing?
Yes.
They're not adding to anything, because it looks like there are wings here on Townhouse Type B?
And again, this will.
I understand,
still go
but
to
I
plan-
just want to make sure
okay.
it does not change the
They
footprint.
They did reconfigure a little bit of the driveway entrances for the on the interior side, but it's like very minor curb cut changes to make sure, because we have to make sure all the swings for the emergency vehicles are in there. In terms of that, I know they wanted another bedroom, looking to put another bedroom downstairs.
Right.
And they also were adding a second garage space, so which is good, because that created a little bit more parking spaces for people that are coming in. So this way, I think there was 2 in and 2 outside. There'd be more parking available. But in terms of the size of the units, my understanding hasn't gotten any bigger, but I'd have to double check that to say 100% for sure.
Yes, because I'm looking at a page here and it looks like it's wider, which didn't make sense to me, but you can look.
Yeah, we'll take a look. And that's really under the purview of the planning board.
I don't know, it looks like it
The
does.
planning board is meeting at 6:30 this Thursday night,
Yep.
if anybody's interested.
Right. Thank you. That's a good point.
Here.
That if there is public interested in
I'll
this.
show you, because I won't be here Thursday night. See how this is wider here? That's the second bedroom that they're adding. So it looks like they're going out
A little bit, yeah. We'll see
a
what they
whole
have to s-
bedroom.
See what they have to say on Thursday night.
Okay.
I know you're gonna be a gypsy.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Again, this is declaring lead agency as on Seeger.
Yeah, and we'll be circulating our intent to be, the board's intent to continue to be lead agency.
Great, thank you.
And I'm assuming, Chris, that after planning, will this come back before us?
Not for the site plan modification, it has to come before you, where the board will ultimately have to make a secret determination
Okay.
on the impact of the changes.
Okay. Understood.
And this still has to go before the ARB, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
The board,
Yeah, they never finished.
they never completed the process before the
But they
ARB, so
don't
that's
rule
their
on
entire
that. They
review
rule
on that.
what it looks like.
Yes, that's correct. The aesthetics.
Which is why
Still
I
just
certainly,
one more thing that has to happen.
Yeah, they had, in the first version of when they came, they had at least one meeting, if not 2, with the ARB. I think it was 1, and they got some feedback, some comments, but that never completed beyond that. So that's still the original ARB. The ARB never made a determination at the time.
Right. All right. Other questions or comments?
No?
Trustee Epstein?
yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution number 4. Considering authorizing the hiring of Joel Dichter of Dichter Law LLC as special counsel to represent participating Westchester municipalities in Con Edison's electric and gas rate case before the PSC.
Whereas on January 31st, 2025, Con Edison filed a petition with the New York State Public Service Commission to increase electric and gas rates as of January 1st, 2026. And whereas under this petition, electric rates would rise by 18%, with residential delivery charges increases by 25.1%, and natural gas delivery rates rising by 19.1%. And whereas this Con Edison rate hike proposal comes with after an increase of 20% in rates over the past 3 years, any further significant increases would have negative financial impacts on residents and businesses within Westchester County. And whereas the Public Service Commission is currently reviewing Con Edison's petition for an electric and gas rate increase, and whereas it's in the best interest of the Village of Rybrook to be represented in this matter to ensure the concerns of local governments and its residents are adequately addressed, and whereas Joel Dichter of Dichter Law has the necessary experience and expertise to represent the interests of the participating municipalities in this case, and has submitted a proposal dated February 13th, 2025, to represent participating municipalities, and whereas the proposal includes intervening in the rate case, conducting discovery, retaining expert witnesses, preparing briefs, and attending all hearings and any settlement discussions at a total cost that shall not exceed $100,000, which would be split equally among all the participating municipalities that accept to his representation in this rate case, and whereas such representation will only proceed if at least 20 municipalities agree to be represented by Joel Dichter. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook agree as follows. The municipality hereby authorizes the hiring of Joel Dichter of Dichter Law as a special counsel to representing Westchester municipalities in Con Edison electric and gas rate case before the Public Service Commission. And whereas the municipality's share of the legal fees shall be determined based on equal division among all participating municipalities, with the total amount of such representation not to exceed $100,000, and whereas this authorization shall only take effect if at least 20 municipalities agree to be represented by Joel Dichter of Dichter Law. The mayor and the village administrator are also authorized to take any and all actions to execute the agreements and related documents and make payments in furtherance of this resolution. And this resolution shall take effect immediately. And be it further resolved that Rybrook shall coordinate the payment to Joel Dichter of Dichter Law on behalf of the participating municipalities for representation in this Con Ed gas and electric rate case. And that's it. Sorry.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
So, Chris, a little background. I know that we have, as a board, have discussed this. Chris, can you just give a little more background for the public?
Sure.
Edification, and then I'd want to add a few things of recent developments.
Sure. So so there's everybody. We've been getting a lot of calls. All the municipalities, all the officials are getting a lot of calls about the current Con Ed rates and their bills, and people have been shocked by the bills and the increases compared to what they were, and how much they've gone up in this year. And unfortunately, that could be just the beginning. There's a new rate case that's seeking additional large increases that would take effect in January of next year. So that rate, and they're talking about high double-digit increases here. And so there's, you see certain officials have gone out and had rallies and lobbying, and that's all important. But what this is doing is, we contacted Joel Dichter, who we know has represented the village for over 30 years, as well as Portchester and Rye City, and we said the three communities said to Joel, what else could we do to make the best impact for these rate matters, because this is unacceptable. And in doing so, Joel also represents electric rate increase and gas rate increase petitions in other locations. For instance, he represents Rockland County and its 5 towns in the rate case that was from Con Ed's sister company over in that region. So this is another specialty area in addition to our experience we have with him on the water rate case. So he does a lot of different utility work. So he also explained that if you want to make a difference, you really need to intervene and and have representation as a party to the rate case. And by doing that, you're going to be involved in the whole process, which could take 10, 11 months. And in doing that, you have, basically Con Ed will, all the documentation is submitted by Con Ed, all that needs to be reviewed, including by technical consultants that would be able to speak at the hearing about why it's not just about a percentage, it's about also how the rates get allocated. For instance, the residential rate will be different than some of the commercial rates and other rates that are implemented. So there's a lot of detail. You also have to look at how much is being reinvested into the infrastructure, particularly in Westchester County. In the past, and then during that process, the public hearing process will start, and you enter testimony and witnesses, and you bring people in to provide that facts. And then ultimately, what typically happens is the Public Service Commission will halt the public hearing process, And when they do that, anybody who's party to the rate case will go into closed rooms and they'll start settlement discussions. And that often results in a 3-year settlement or so. That's pretty typical that it ends up with a 3-year settlement. So in having a 3-year settlement, we're talking about the rates for the next 3 years that would be impacting residents. So people are very upset about the bills now, and if their proposal came through, you can imagine how upset people would be with more 20% increases going forward, which is what they're asking. Usually that will be brought down by the Public Service Commission, but there's a big concern that every dollar of those increases really need to be scrutinized. So obviously $100,000 is an awful lot of money for any 1, 2, or 3 communities. So we've taken the lead in reaching out to WMO, our Westchester Municipal Officials Association, our Municipal Administrators Association, and provided a lot of information out to residents, to the community leaders, to say if everyone puts in, if we can get 20 communities to put in up $5,000 or up to $5,000, we could hit that $100,000 target, which is a not to exceed number. So, and then if we get more than 20 communities to participate, that number, that equal share, will reduce even further. So we've been sending a lot of information. We held Zoom meetings with other officials so they can meet Joel and get to know the process a little bit more, ask questions,
Chris
all
and
of
I were
that.
both on.
That the mayor and I were both on. And we're working through, waiting, and communities are expressing, they're putting on their agendas and considering that, and resolutions are starting to come in now. Some started last week. We're getting a lot more this week are on the table, and giving us a lot of people are giving us verbals. We plan on approving it. So as long as we can get at least 20, then it'll be a maximum cost to each community of $5,000. If we get more than 20, then that number would be reduced. So that's the concept and the goal. If we don't get 20, we won't move forward.
So what is your,
And this is really, I do want to say that we've used Joel before in some of these rate cases in front of the PSC, and we've also combined forces with other municipalities in the past, specifically Portchester and Rye, and they've been great partners in this. And I want to thank Portchester and Rye for continuing. Certainly, huge thanks to Chris for really Rybrook taking the lead on this. That we really are taking the lead, and it's unfortunate because in the past sometimes Westchester hasn't been represented. We haven't had a seat at the table, and a lot of times some of the changes have been more favorable to New York City, and they haven't, and it's negatively affected the residents in Westchester County. And so really the importance of this is us having a seat at the table and Westchester County being represented. Now, we had been told that the county most likely wasn't going to enter into this. And so that's especially why we thought that this was important for the municipalities in Westchester. And not all the municipalities in Westchester use Con Ed. The more northern, especially northeastern ones, are in NICEAG territory. So, we felt it important for Westchester residents to be properly represented through this process. And so that's when we began this. Last night, the Board of Legislators passed a resolution that the county will enter into this. However, we've been told that the county is going to be using their own legal teams and not outside counsel with specialty in this, like the way that Dictor Law is. And so, we feel it's still the best move for us to continue down this path so that we have that specialist, someone who's used to arguing cases in front of the PSC.
And we'll hire the technical consultant, because when it gets down to settlement discussions, that's where you need the fine details to be able to say how much revenue are they entitled to, how should that rate structure be implemented, and in what categories. So those are some of the things that you really need to get down to have that information to say how that settlement should be structured. And that's where we've had success in water rate cases. That's what they'll try to do here as well, to see what's in the best interest of the residents. And as the mayor said, in the past, New York City was well represented, Westchester County was not. So this gives us an opportunity to have a seat at the table, and only those party to the rate case will be will enter into settlement discussions.
Right.
I must say that I admire the chutzpah of Con Edison to ask for a 25.1% increase in the delivery charges for electricity. I got my bill yesterday, and 2/3 of the bill were for delivery charges. I also had a blackout yesterday, as did many residents in Rybrook. So what exactly are they spending the current delivery charges on? Clearly not maintenance.
No.
And so I can't even imagine why they deserve 1 penny of an increase.
Right, and a lot of the infrastructure changes that they're looking for aren't even in our area.
Yeah.
So,
So why should we be paying for them?
but that's, and
Well,
that's
that's the
why-
argument. That's the argument to be
why
made.
we
How
find it
many
important to have this
municipalities
represented.
are there in Westchester that could potentially take part in
Good
this?
question, because it's a hard one to really lock down, because there's a lot of communities that have both.
Yeah.
So
Well, they have both, and they
it's-
have
most
a-
of the communities. Well, you have, like, for instance, I know one community up
Bedford,
north. They have 400 residents that are involved out of their whole town, so they
Right.
may not. That
It's
kind
unlikely.
of thing. It's
And-
unlikely.
And
but-
why wouldn't, I just can't wrap my heads around, why wouldn't Westchester County want to take part in these negotiations with us? Because we have the same interests.
Do you want me to talk to this, Chris?
I'll do, yeah, sure, but I would just say it's a mistake. That's all I'll say.
Well, I
is-
think our residents should know this.
There is and I spoke to this on the municipal meeting because I wanted to come at on the municipal meeting, there was a mix of both elected officials and administrators. And so we wanted to speak to it from both. The risk you take as an elected official in joining into party of this is that you become party to the settlement. So in other words, when everything is settled out, you ultimately have to sign on to that settlement.
You don't have to,
You don't have to,
but the
but-
PSC wants you to sign on. If they want to see an agreed upon settlement, people sign off on.
Right, so if the settlement is something that still involves an increase, you are potentially signing on to that, as opposed to just standing on the sidelines and barking and saying that this is no good, this is no good. But if you don't have the seat at the table, you don't have the ability to affect what's happening in that hearing.
Right, which is my point. Why wouldn't they not be part of it?
So now Westchester County is getting involved. They are going to have a seat, but we still feel that this is the proper, and we're already more than 50% of the way there. And so, my hope is that we will get there. Because, 5,000, for some communities, this could be a lot, in our budget, it's not a huge amount. But it's still a cost to our taxpayers. And,
Of course.
And so we want to try and spread this across as many municipalities because it also shows how many municipalities have a stake in the game.
I dare say that our taxpayers would back us 100%.
Oh, yeah.
In our efforts in this case.
I believe so as well. I believe so as well. All right.
I agree.
I don't mean to keep beating. I don't want to keep beating this. What are your feelings about how many municipalities that you feel comfortable that we're going to get 20?
I think we will.
You think we will?
I'm getting a big wave. I think the
That's
Zoom meeting last week, people were able to really digest it more and understand the process more. We're a little more familiar because of the water rate. A lot of communities never get involved in utility cases.
Right.
We have a little bit different situation with a private water company, but on this side of it, I think once everyone got a chance to meet with Mr. Dichter or got a chance to talk to other colleagues, all on the same call, ask questions, it seemed like the numbers really started to rise after that.
Great. And the county getting involved, I think that's a good thing. I almost think parallel may work to our advantage.
It could.
I think it can.
It certainly doesn't
Because
hurt.
They're
it
going to
does not
see.
hurt.
The county's going to see these 20 municipalities fighting tooth and nail, and the county's going to say, "Well, we better,
We are
There
pleased.
are
We are
constituents.
definitely
We have to-
pleased. We are pleased. The county is also going to be a party to it.
Yeah, whether they."
So we wish it was all unified, but at the same time, the fact that all the municipalities, they represent all of the Westchester municipalities too, or within the county, all the residents in the county, that certainly doesn't hurt.
Oh, so I see. So in other words, if they sign on, that means whatever they agree on, they're the ones that got to make the agreement. Is that?
They would be encouraged to sign on to a
Sign on,
settlement. And if that
oh, I
includes an
see. That's where
increase,
the
that could
problem is.
be.
Oh,
Is there anything else the residents can do to
gotcha.
to show how unhappy they are
Sure.
with
And
this? And what do you recommend? Because I
I,
think that we
I will
can-
speak to Mr. Dichter on it as well, but I know that we can send out information to how to go on the rate case. Two things. One, you can enter comments on right now on the public service website on this particular rate case. And there's thousands of comments already, so, but the more that are on it is a good thing. And if the public, they will be holding several virtual public hearings as well, where the public can speak. And there's, I think, 4 different times on 2 days. It's all virtual. And they would, you have to register at least a day ahead to be able to speak. So we can get that information out. That's in April 8th and 9th.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Thank you
Again,
so much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of work has gone into this from Chris and other staff, and we appreciate all the other communities that have signed on already. We appreciate everyone who participated in the Zoom meeting, where we were able to share more information, and we're happy to share more information as it goes along.
And we should mention, and Rybrook will be taking the lead for everyone that participates to collect the money and work it out with Mr. Dichter.
Okay.
Right, so we'll be making the disbursements.
Okay.
Great.
And so if assuming we move forward with this, there will be budget transfers and
our
we'll have to
future.
create new lines
We count on it, yep.
and all new accounting for that. But we know it'll happen properly because we know Trish, dots every I and crosses every.
I consulted with her as well before I even offered
Okay,
it.
good. All right, I think we're ready. Yeah.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 5. I almost said 6 because it's badge 6. Resolution number 5. Considering an agreement between the Village of Rybrook and Badge 6 LLC for Police Department accreditation software.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook Police Department seeks to maintain its accreditation by New York State, and whereas the Village of Rybrook received a proposal from Badge 6, right? From Badge 6 LLC to allow the Village of Rybrook Police Department to access software designed to assist the department in maintaining accreditation. And whereas under the terms of the proposed agreement, the village will receive a discounted 2-year price for a total of $4,500 to be paid in 2 to 3 installments, each in fiscal year 2024-25 and also in 25-26. And whereas the Village of Rybrook seeks to enter into the proposed agreement with Badge 6 LLC for this police accreditation software, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposed agreement with Badge 6 LLC for the Police Department accreditation software, subject to modification by council. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to sign any related documents necessary to implement the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Chief, would you like to say anything?
Why don't you come up and explain what it is?
Yeah, if you can
And in the
explain.
meantime, I'll set the table while you're walking up. The reason I hesitated it was originally going to be 2 payments. Now it might be 3 payments. So we'll just list it as, okay.
It's a
2
two-year
budget
agreement?
years. It's a 2-year agreement, 1 payment this year and 1 payment in next fiscal year. And it's basically the chief can go through the benefits of it, but he was able to locate this firm that would provide assistance in helping us with accreditation, and it's a way. We don't currently have this type of software, so it'd be a new system for us that would really help us meet the standards for accreditation.
So basically, rather than having everything paper copied, everything will now be digital. The program itself, once everything is uploaded to it, all the accreditation standards from the state, and then our paperwork that we currently have in our folders, it'll go out and search through what we scan in to make the proofs that we need to show the Accreditation Council that we're following their procedures.
Chief, does Badge 6 offer training so that we know how to operate this software?
Yes.
Yeah, part of the fee is an implementation fee, I think, of $500. So it's basically $2,000 for each year, and that's a discounted price for being a first mover in New York.
Yeah, no one in New York Matrix got the software yet. It's actually coming live in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
How did you find out about it?
Fred Seifert. He found it, and
And they do a lot of
the
work in
lady
Connecticut.
That, started the company. She was a police officer in Connecticut, and then she went out on a medical retirement, and she was doing accreditation at the time. And she's a consultant for a lot of departments in Connecticut. So she sat down with some software people and said, "Let's put this together." And a couple of years later, here it is.
And there's really not many other programs like this that exist, right?
No, it's not, especially at this level. Everything else is quadruple in price and not nearly. They don't have AI built into it, so
Right, I did read that there's AI. That is a.
some things you can turn it on and off. So if you want to use it, you can. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. In case there's some sort of specific policy you don't want a computer making decisions for you on. So.
It's interesting. It's crazy.
All right. Again, helping us with the accreditation process so that we can.
Okay.
Less man hours, it's good.
And that's what a lot of it
Right,
is
it will
too.
help
It's
with
just the
that.
staff time is
Right,
really
so-
difficult to keep up with.
Right.
So it's about minimizing the overtime for the accreditation
Yes.
process. So this is definitely worth it, and if it doesn't work, we could always, it's
Stop.
The nice
cancelable.
thing about it is they gave us a clause in the contract that if we don't feel it's useful after the year,
1 year.
I read
that.
it,
Yeah.
I read that, that's why, yeah.
Mhm.
Great.
Yes.
All right, go to it.
Any other
Thank you.
questions or comments?
No, I think it's move forward. Technology.
Do you have a motion second? I don't even remember.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes, good
Trustee,
luck.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes, and thank you, Fred.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 6, considering awarding contract number 2508, school buses for various recreation trips.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook has solicited bids for contract 25-28 school buses for various recreation trips, and whereas we previously solicited bids for contract 2507 buses for various summer camp trips, which we withdrew before the bid submission date for technical administrative reasons, so a new bid could be reissued as contract 25-08. And whereas the bid for contract 2508 was advertised in the Journal News as the official newspaper of the village on February 21st, 2025, and was also made available in the Empire State Purchasing Group bid system. And whereas at 10 a.m. on Friday, March 7th, all bids were 2025. All bids were received were opened and summarized below. And there was the bidders, let's see, we had J&R Tours, which bid on coach buses, First Student, which bid on school buses, Royal Coach Lines, which bid on school buses, and County Coach, which bid on both school buses and coach buses. And now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees determine the lowest responsible bidder meeting the requirements of the contract for school buses is First Student of 191 Rosa Parks Street, 8th floor, Cincinnati, Ohio, for the total bid amount of $42,960. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees determined that since J&R Tours did not include a required bid bond or certified check with their bid, the lowest responsible bidder meeting the requirements of the contract for coach buses is County Coach at 30 Nursery Lane, Rye, New York, for the total bid amount of $5,725. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby awards contract 25-08 for First Student for the school bus bid and County Coach for the coach bus bid. And be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purposes of this resolution.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second?
Motion.
Second.
David, you must be very disappointed. There's no extreme outlier here.
That's why I'm assuming there's a typo.
We thank every company for bidding on the buses. We're glad to have competition out there.
Yes.
To know that there is, the market to provide this service to the village for our camps.
And it does provide a savings over last year.
Right, which is, and then part of that is because of and that's really because of the decisions that we were making.
I know.
That we were actively seeking that.
Yes.
In terms of the amount of usage that we were looking
And
for.
how we're going to do it, and we're going to use the seniors bus on certain days and things like that too.
Right.
So, yep.
All right, any questions or comments?
Nope.
Just a grammatical point or spelling
Oh.
point.
Which part?
The address for First Student Shouldn't that be Rosa Parks with an S?
Probably, but we'll we'll
Probably.
verify.
Yeah, let's
It's
look
hard
it
to
up.
believe we just named it after someone named Rosa Park.
Yes.
Well, let's see.
We'll verify either way, but
Yeah.
yes, it sounds right.
Now I'm
You sound
questioning
correct.
it. 191. It is with an S,
Okay, thank you.
or at least that's what's coming up on Google Maps. Which isn't saying much, but all right. I believe we have the motion and second.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 7, considering setting a public hearing on a proposed local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established in General Municipal Law, Section 3C, for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2025.
Now therefore be resolved that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rybrook on Tuesday, April 8th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m., which will include opportunities for interested members of the public to provide written and oral comments on the proposed local law authorizing a property tax levy in excess of the limit established by General Municipal Law, Section 3C, for the fiscal year commencing June 1st, 2025.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second.
And again, this is just setting a public hearing on this. For the residents listening out there, we don't intend to need this resolution. We always put it on, though, in case we do. And this is my annual diatribe in that New York State is a home rule state. And the state of New York has chosen in the past to set a artificial tax cap that puts extra onus on the municipalities within the state of New York. And at the same time, this was intended to come with relief of, what am I looking for? It was
Mandate
coming-
relief.
Mandate relief, thank you. That this was going to come with mandate relief. We never saw such mandate relief, even when this was first passed. It used to come with checks being sent to residents within the village if a municipality stayed within the tax cap limit. We have done this. We have done this for years. In my 12 years on this board, we have only exceeded the tax cap once, and that was when we put in the new DPW garage, the new highway garage down on West William Street.
With also the tax cert case in the same
And
year.
also, right, the tax cert case and the Save the Sound thing at the same time. So it was a congruence of many factors. And that was the only time. We obviously want to do right by our residents. But again, this law exists to try and force municipalities into staying under an artificially created tax cap in a state that is home rule.
Do you want to tell us the name of the politician who did this to us?
I would choose not to, but because he is, I think, currently going to make another bid
Exactly.
for political office, this time for mayor of the city of New York.
Yes.
But I will not call this person out by name. But
We'll let the people listening figure out who has been governor of New York State and is currently running for mayor of New York City. If you can figure out the name of that person, that's who we have to thank for this.
But again, this is, I always like seeing this on there because, we as a municipality have the right to maintain our own home rule within the state. So, any questions or comments on this?
Yes, so we have yet to receive some disbursement from the state for staying under the cap, right? Wasn't that the rule?
Part of it was mandate relief, and part of it were the checks that were being sent to individual residents of the municipalities. Those checks stopped a while ago.
Yeah, okay.
So the checks were coming to residents
Because we stayed under the cap.
for those who stayed under the cap, and our residents
That doesn't happen,
rec-
and that
How
doesn't
long
happen
ago was
anymore.
that? Yeah, I don't remember that.
Oh, that was
It
for
stopped.
several years,
Yeah, for the first few years, yeah.
This law was adopted how long ago? probably 5, 6, 7.
More than that,
Yeah.
no, 13, 12, 13.
Yeah, it was, no, this is,
14 years
tax
ago.
cap has been in effect a very long time.
I don't remember. So for 10 years, we've gotten nothing back for it.
It was,
So well, originally it was to put an artificial cap to keep property taxes low in the state, and that was the original goal of it. But it was also they were also supposed to say that they wouldn't add state mandates on us at the same time, because that's unfair, right? You can't ask for that and not put mandates on us.
can't
That costs
tell us
money.
we have to spend more,
But
but tell us we
unfortunately,
can't raise
as the
money.
mayor said,
to do
Right.
it.
but as the mayor said, unfortunately, the mandate relief did not come.
Did not come.
And so what we do is
Right.
the board is asked to schedule the public hearing for the same night as the budget public hearing, because by then the board's already had 2 work sessions. You have a good sense where the budget is. This way, if it's not necessary, you don't adopt the local law, and it doesn't have to go to the state, doesn't have to be filed,
Right.
but at least it's there if you want it to be.
Right, and so we set the public hearing.
Yeah.
And so chances are,
No,
this is
I
my
know
only
why we're doing
diatribe
it.
every
Case. I
this
understand.
year, because we most likely will not. I mean, I don't foresee, a budget being presented by staff that we're gonna say, yes, we want to blow the tax cap now. We're gonna add a bunch of money onto this, but we will see and for those listening at home, and I'm sure Chris will mention this in his administrator's report, but the budget gets released on March 20th.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Any questions or comments? Again, we're just setting a public
Nope.
hearing for this.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number, and thank you for listening to me again. I do this every year and I apologize. Resolution number 8, considering fiscal year 24-25 budget modification.
Okay, resolve that the following general fund budget transfer be approved in fiscal year 24-25 from undesignated fund balance to the committed designated for capital projects fund balance. And there's an increase in the designated for capital projects fund balance in the amount of $1.5 million and a decrease of the like amount in the undesignated fund balance account.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
Motion.
Second?
Chris?
Sure. So the reason we do this is we wait until we're further along in the budget process. And then what the board does is the board will transfer available fund balance that we know will be available and still leave an adequate fund balance behind. But still, this is what is going to be transferred to capital projects to fund next year's capital projects. So at this point, we know what capital projects are recommended. And this will then allow, when we submit the budget, to make sure everything flows very smooth. So this way, that fund balance in other places use fund balance for operating expenses. Rybrook's never done that. What this is doing is earmarking fund balance for capital projects that will use to fund the capital projects in next year's budget.
It's horrible.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second? Oh,
So moved.
I already did that.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
And then I asked for the background. My bad. Any questions or comments from the board? That's what I meant to say. All right.
Trustee Epstein?
Yes.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 9, considering approval of the minutes for the meetings held on November 12th and November 26th, 2024.
Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the minutes for the meeting held on November 12th and 26th, November 26th, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Administrator's report.
Yes, just have several items I want to mention. One is that the village election is on March 18th, and that starts at 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the same locations as the national election. And the mayor and Sal Morlino and Don Crum are all up for election and uncontested, but it is important for people to come out and vote. It's very important. It's one of the best things we have in this country is the right to vote, and we certainly encourage everyone to come out. The tentative budget, as the mayor said, is going to be filed on March 20th, and it's going to be budget work sessions scheduled with the departments. These are all public on March 31st and April 7th, both starting at 6 p.m. So it's several hours meeting with the departments, going through all the different accounts, what the departments recommended, what the administrator and treasurer have modified, and to develop a tentative budget that then becomes the village board's budget, so they have to make decisions on, what's appropriate or what's not. Next, I just want to mention there's a real interesting program coming up with the Rybrook Seniors and the Blindbrook PTA. They have an intergenerational game night on March 31st. Sounds like a lot of fun. And that's from
night
4
we're
to
having
6
a-
p.m. at AJP. There's going to be pizza and food and playing pool and ping pong and cornhole and pickleball and chess and rummy cube and karaoke, and it's a nice intergenerational thing with the school districts and the seniors and anybody that's interested in coming on out. And we'll get information out to the public on that as well. So last is the public statement hearings. I mentioned this earlier, but just want to reiterate, if the public would like to speak on the Con Ed rate case, it's a virtual only public hearing, and we'll get that information out by email as well and social media. That's on April 8th and 9th at 1 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. on both days. So that's 4 different time slots. And the key is you have to register on the public service website 1 day ahead in order to make any public statements. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, hold on. Might have one other item. And on March 27th is also opening day of Major League Baseball. So we'll be having a hot dog event. We do a little pop-up event with our hot dogs and so forth, and invite the community out to celebrate the opening of baseball using a hot dog truck that was donated to the village.
Oh, yeah.
Hot dog
Hot
cart.
dog cart that was donated to the village. Hot dog cart.
We don't have a
It
truck.
wasn't the Oscar Mayer one. Remember that you've seen on the road?
No, we don't have that. That would be fun though.
Yeah.
Although Paul would have definitely wanted to have driven that. All right, we do have one item of new business. Before we get to that, though, Mr. Lurango, did you have anything? Oh, you're just listening. Okay. Okay. All right, I didn't know if you had something that you wanted to say. Okay. All right, so we do have one item of new business, a request for sidewalks on Bowman Ave.
Be on a committee.
Maybe. So yes, and I'm going to ask Mr. Nowak to come up as well. You knew that was coming, Michael. But basically, there's no action required, but we want the community to be aware of this request that has come from the developer of the project on Webb Avenue. Harrison, as part of their approval of the Webb Avenue development that's currently under construction, required that they extend the sidewalks on Bowman Avenue from the project site to basically the entrance for the Portchester Middle School property where there's currently sidewalks. So the sidewalks currently go up to about the parking lot area, and they're looking to extend it the whole length. So we've received a request from the developer to approval to install the sidewalks. So I'm going to ask Mr. Nowak to kind of add anything else.
That is exactly what had happened. As part of the approval of the project on Webb Avenue, apparently a sidewalk was a condition of approval from Webb Avenue all the way down Bowman Avenue to the portion of sidewalk that ends right in front of the middle school in the area of the Rye Ridge Plaza. So being that it's going to be a change in that area and pretty hefty change, and it's going to be a responsibility borne by the school district and 800 Westchester. I wanted to bring it to the board's attention, and Mr. Bradbury was kind enough to put it on the agenda here to let everybody know.
And a couple of things we should add too. There'll be concrete sidewalks, which is good. We have contacted the school district as well to let them know about it because they'll be responsible for the sidewalk after it's implemented.
Right.
800 Westchester, I'm sure, will be fine with it because they are part of the the Webb Avenue development process. That's basically used to be their property. And on the one positive, I'd say there's definitely a positive to this, which is, we know that's an area that gets a lot of debris. And we have to literally close down the street. I mean, this isn't a reason to put in sidewalks, but it's called an added benefit. Right now we have to literally close the street down to make it safe for people to go along that busy roadway. So, you may not have to do as much of that, or at least keep part of it open, because now you're going to have a sidewalk the whole stretch that will allow people to get, walk the stretch and be able to clean up on the side when we hold those types of events. Again, not a reason to do it, but it's, I guess, an added benefit.
And there's also going to be a sidewalk from Webb Avenue onto Westchester Avenue, also looping around on the other side.
Where that truck is now. Where they have a
No,
food
well,
truck?
there's no, that food truck's gone. But that whole road will be a sidewalk
Road and
up
then
Westchester Avenue past the
front of the
Taj
30
Mahal, I
and
guess
30.
we
We'll
call
go
it.
around, yep,
Yeah,
we'll go around the loop.
and up to that point.
opposite of the office park in Harrison.
But
opposite
on
there.
Westchester, I think there's already sidewalks on our,
There is
in
a sidewalk
Rybrook.
up to the Harrison line.
Yeah, so the only the change is on Bowman Avenue.
Right.
And,
And again, this is, and just to point out to anyone listening, this was all part of a decision process in a neighboring municipality. This was
Yes.
coming from Harrison, even though this sidewalk is in Rybrook. So I find that a little interesting.
That's why we said we need to hear from the school district.
Right, and again, it doesn't affect the village as much because it won't be our responsibility to maintain. It becomes the responsibility of the school district. So that's
So can they say, sure, you could put it in, but we're not gonna maintain it, it's up to you since you want it?
I don't
Our
know
code,
what the
our code requires that it's the adjacent property owner.
so Harrison approved this, approved this project in order for this developer to build this structure, correct?
They put it this way, if they had to make
Kinda-
best efforts, if it doesn't, we've done stuff like that too, where there's traffic changes or traffic signal changes in other
Without
communities.
our approval.
They have to, you have to make best efforts to try. Now, I'm sure if we didn't want them, I'm sure we could say that. It's not killing the project.
It's not killing, okay.
not this.
Yeah. No, I think it's,
Harrison gonna pay for all the work?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
All the work
The
is
developer
borne
has
by
to
the
pay it.
Developer
None of
pays.
the work is borne by the
The
municipality.
developer, it's a condition of the approval to be paid by the
I think
developer.
sidewalks are always a positive thing,
Yeah.
because that way
Well,
people
we could
use
say no.
them and they won't use their
Safe.
cars.
Yeah.
I don't think it will hinder the debris, unfortunately, because it's
won't hinder.
usually,
It won't hinder the.
It'll make it
debris, but
easier to
make
pick
it
up,
easier
is
for us
all.
to pick it up.
right, safer.
It'll make
Safer.
it safer for us and easier for us to pick it up. And it's
Isn't that
not
also
hard.
an area where they're trying to stop a wetland or something, or?
They're not, huh?
Sorry to
Sorry.
interrupt. How are we gonna widen that area?
We're not. There's
So-
room, they're using the right of way. They're gonna
right-of-way,
put the
yeah.
sidewalks on the right of way.
So basically, if you make the right-hand turn from South Ridge Street, making the right turn heading up Bowman Avenue, it's gonna be on the school side.
Right,
On the
all the way
right-hand
up,
side.
yeah. Right.
along
The north side of
Right,
Bowman.
where the
Literally,
ball field is,
Where
right?
the ball field is on that side, heading all the way up, there's approximately 5 to 7 feet of
right away.
right away there where they're gonna be installing it. They're gonna be about a foot off of the white line, which is about what we had discussed, after they brought this, to our attention, which is, fine, they have the room there. There is one area that is pretty tight, but they reassured us that they have enough room there for that.
And then eventually the pathway hooks into the
Westchester,
800
yeah.
Westchester.
So,
There is,
Yes.
I believe, a sidewalk
right.
within the complex.
so 800 Westchester and the school district both have to agree on this.
Yes, but 800 Western, I'm sure will, because they're the ones that sold the property to the developer.
Okay, gotcha.
We did
Okay.
develop it to the school. I have not heard back from them. I will be following up with them.
Be interesting to see if they'll okay it.
Yeah.
Well, they need to present their views, and we'll take that under consideration before we issue a street opening permit.
Right, but the other question is, aren't we hoping that they're gonna raise the level of the field to help with the water drainage?
Well, that's a lot of that's
So isn't
dependent
that-
upon whether we're able to get the money for
Of
the.
course,
for
but
the
I wanna think
storage.
about
Have,
that.
the drainage is something that we talked about, and they showed us how the drainage, the road is pitched. It'll be fine, and there's a drain right in front of the schools where the water will drain to.
So were you talking about the drainage,
It
project that
won't-
we have regarding Avon?
Yeah.
Oh, no, different,
That's a whole different.
different system.
Yeah, it's a whole different system.
That's even a
Okay.
different line,
And
yeah.
it wouldn't affect our project at all.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
I
it'll
thought we were
bring,
gonna raise the field there for,
it's good for commerce, right? To bring people to the Rye Ridge,
and less
people to ride
cars,
with.
walking
less
down,
cars.
walking from the development maybe, more business.
Hopefully it'll look a little cleaner, maybe,
Yeah,
too,
look a
because
little cleaner,
the
does
brush there gets pretty thick.
Yeah, it does look kind of,
Stuff gets,
Ugly.
when debris gets thrown out, it gets stuck in the bramble.
Exactly how long is the distance of that cement sidewalk that the school will have to cover?
I don't have the exact
think it
footage,
said, like-
but I mean, you're looking at a couple of hundred
It
feet
said like 800 feet, I think.
Yeah.
in front of the school.
800.
That's a lot.
Of the entire, maybe not.
No,
maybe
that's the whole
not all
stretch
school.
probably,
Whole
yeah.
That's the
sidewalk
whole
is
stretch, though.
Oh.
Really long.
Right.
Yeah, but But the school
It's,
probably has a
yeah,
couple hundred feet.
but it's basically from the entrance to the parking lot to their border.
Right.
Yeah.
There's actually about a third of their property has a little piece of a sidewalk on it. So technically.
Oh, so
it's
they're
about-
already maintaining that.
Little quick, interesting aside is, there's actually a historic cemetery back there too.
Oh, yeah, the
Really?
African,
Not that, yeah, I'm not sure whose it is, but it's, I don't think you could get to it now, but there is an old
Yeah,
cemetery.
up in the
back
woods,
there.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that.
How do you remember that?
Because I went to that school for a little while. And we hung out up there. And used to eat hot dogs at that, we used to have hot dogs at that hot dog truck over there, Frank's.
So there's no action required, but we want to make sure this
Yeah,
is.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're aware of it. If we have any comment on it, we're able to provide comment.
Yep.
To me, my only comment is what we're already doing, making sure the school is fully aware and they know what the code is and that they're going to have to
Yes.
maintain it and that, and it's.
Yeah, and there's some decisions, there's one other decision the school can make about near the ball field area, because there's currently kind of a pull-off and how
Right.
that interacts, so that's something we've asked the school to weigh in on as well.
But the permitting would be in Rybrook.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
All right.
Um,
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
No, I had
Since this
something and
is
I forgot what it
Trustee
was.
Did I
Fisher's
ask you
last
something
meeting,
else to bring
I
up?
just wanted to
What?
thank her for
Did
all
I
the work
ask
she's done.
anything else?
Yeah.
Did you ask him?
Yeah.
I will speak at another time about how long we've known each other.
yes, we have known each other a very long time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we're going to miss you.
Thank you. I'll miss
I
you
didn't
guys
say that,
too.
I just wanted
Very
to
much.
thank her.
Well, I'm going to miss you, so
Thank you.
wishing you all the best, and please come to a meeting.
I
We'd love to see
will.
your smiling face.
I will. I'll come and heckle.
Yeah, that's what we're afraid of.
I'm certainly going to miss you as well. We sit next to each other here, but
Thank you,
you're always
I
so supportive of the
know.
staff and our events, and really are just, you come and you have a great presence. Everybody, you're so welcoming, and really appreciate everything you've done for the
you.
village.
Thank you. This was a great experience. I wish, more people would step up and volunteer and give back. It's so fulfilling, and it's so great to meet people and get to know the people that support our community.
Thank
So,
you.
And I would say, and for those, those in the public wondering why we're saying this will be Trustee Fisher's last meeting, sitting up here on the board. I guess we met a while ago. As she likes to famously say, she babysat for me. I was a kid.
So you've known her even longer than I have.
I think I probably have.
yes.
I think I
Very
probably
Oh, that's
have.
too
And it-
funny.
And Stephanie and I both served together on the sustainability committee before we were on this board. And so I thoroughly enjoyed, everything you brought to the sustainability committee, and it was great interacting with you. And I think we had, such a great committee back then. Not that it's not great now, I'm saying, but
Right.
my experience on it
Yeah.
was, the meetings were always a tremendous amount of fun, and we were also, bringing, laying our hearts out on the table there, bringing everything that we had to those meetings and talking about what we thought to be important environmental issues for the village of Rybrook. And then we both got to come up here and
Yeah.
bring that experience and the level of commitment. We both also grew up in Rybrook. And so we have a very strong commitment to this community. And it's been really great having you as a member of this board. You've brought a lot of great ideas, great energy, a lot of great conversation, both in executive session and in public session. And your level of dedication to the community has been exemplary. And, we really appreciate it. And I probably will say more also at a future meeting, where we'll do a little bit more. But
Thank you.
as is your last meeting, I think I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done
I
here.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. It's been great. Really has. And maybe I'll be back on the sustainability committee soon.
That would be wonderful.
Who knows?
And we will be sending notices out to the community because we do have openings on various boards and commissions.
Yeah,
It's a great way.
And it's a great way to give back to your community. It's very fulfilling. A lot of the boards and commissions aren't a huge time commitment. And you know, if you live here and you love what this community has to offer, it's a great way to get involved. And so we'll be sending out notices about that in the coming days and weeks. So the next meetings of the Board of Trustees are March 25th and then April 8th. We have a couple of special meetings in between then with the budgets. And we hope to see you there. Thank you and have a good night.
Good night.
What?
Comments? Or is it-
Yeah.
Good. I don't know if I had comments.